The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbransen and Matt Gutierrez.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, I can't do a British accent. I tried.
God,
that's for my friend. I know it was terrible. Hello. Hello.
I think my 10-year-old does a better accent.
Hello, Governor. Oh, sorry, that's from my friend Kelly Kreiner, who told me never to ever do it again, so I did it again. Welcome back, everybody. It's a special Silver and Black today, Sunday, as your future Las Vegas, now Oakland Raiders, head across the pond to London to take on the Seattle Seahawks at famed Wembley Stadium as the colonies return to the UK for American football action, international style. Welcome back to Las Vegas's only all Raiders talk show, coming to you live and caffeinated from the Dollar Loan Center don'tbebroke.com studios for another week of Raiders football talk on Silver and Black today. I'm Scott Gulbransen, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Gutierrez, fresh off his trip to Los Angeles last week to watch the Raiders' worst performance of the season thus far. Matt, I guess you are not the lucky charm for the Raiders.
I don't know. I'm thinking I'm in L.A. last week. Why am I not in London today? On Silver and Black's dime. What's going on here?
Well, I know. We have to talk to our sponsors about that.
We fully expected that performance last week. Maybe not as abysmal offensively, but, I mean, we talked about it before the show. I wasn't surprised that the Chargers put it on the Raiders like that.
No, and you kind of had that feeling that it was going to happen, so we'll go into that
now,
as well.
0-5 lifetime against the L.A. Chargers.
Wow. Woo. Okay, well, also in the studio, and we're going to bring him in a little bit later, but we introduce, of course, our Padawan as he's learning his way. He's already a stellar guy correspondent, David Stepanian. David, how are you?
Wow, stellar guy correspondent. That means a lot to me coming from you, Scott. Thanks.
I know.
I'm blushing.
I know. I'll sign the script after the show.
I'm pretty excited for this London game because of the London fans. So I was talking to Nigel Seeley over from VSiN, and he was talking about how popular the NFL has gotten over in London. He's from Wembley, and it's because all these games are prime time over there. And also, interestingly enough, is because after the EPL games are finished, that's the only thing left to bet, basically, is the NFL.
Well, that's true. And of course, Nigel, with that name, he must be Latino, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
How did you know?
So I know that he does soccer as well, too. Also with us today are Adroit producer and engineer Mark Bonilla. Do you know what Adroit means, Mark Bonilla? No? Okay, that means skilled, very skilled. Okay, we try to teach people on the show as well.
Damn thesaurus every week.
As well as Trent Ogle, who's here helping us today as well. Each week we meet here to talk Raiders football, but we want you to be a third host. Sound off Las Vegas and Raider Nation. Call us now, 702-889-5978. Tell us what you think. Don't be chary. Call us at 702-889-5978. Chari, for all of these out there. Cautious. You're learning. I'm a teacher.
I checked out like 5 minutes ago, man.
All right, back to football then. Reminder, we're streaming today's worldwide, and I already had two messages from the UK this morning. We have listeners out there. We might even have a couple of them call in. I've been telling them they're a few pints in, but I've told them to call in. So you can stream worldwide on the radio.com app. So if you're in the UK and you're getting ready for the game, put on some headphones and listen to us.
My dad's out there.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
That's right.
On a whim, he decided he was going to go to – he didn't go to London. He went to Manchester. He's got some buddies up there. So he's hanging out in Manchester. I'm sure he's wearing silver and black right now.
Nice.
And repping the Raiders, but hanging out across the pond, man.
I love it. It's
weird.
A party. Raider Nation knows how to party. As always, check out our website, silverandblacktoday.com. We are a website dedicated to everything Raiders football with a Las Vegas twist. Let's get to our lineup real quick here. As always, in our second segment this hour, our cousin Vinny Bonsignore from The Athletic, our weekly contributor, will be here. Vinny will tell us who is better out of the NFL's two hottest teams, the Rams or the Chiefs. We'll get his take on the latest with Derek Carr, and we'll get Vinny's rankings. He's going to tell us who his top four teams in the NFL are, which I think we know two of them. Also in the first hour, silverandblacktodays.com's Chris Reed checks in again with his breakdown segment, which we get a ton of just attention on. People love it on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line, where we'll ask the question, has Gareon Conley, the Raiders' young cornerback, regressed? Chris did the research, watched the film, and he'll tell us. You can read that story up on silverandblacktoday.com. Then in the second half, second hour, we go back out on the Attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line, and we welcome in Raiders loyalty. I should have queued up the God Bless the Queen stuff. That's right, Sandy Humphers Denney, one of the OGs, as they call themselves. The original Raiderette starting in 1961. Sandy and her band of sisters are still active, so we'll talk to her. It's kind of a cool little segment, and I'm looking forward to that as well. We'll finish up the show with Matt's Audible, where Matt picks a topic at large. We'll discuss, we'll debate, we'll argue. We'll slap David Stepanian around a little bit if he has any difference of opinion. Whatever happens, happens when Matt goes under center with his soft hands and calls the audible.
What the hell is this show turning into, man?
He's working on his comedy routine, guys.
There you have it.
Is that
Raider
door
Nation.
Locked? I need to.
There you have it, Raider Nation. I want to catch everybody off
So
guard
out of
today.
character.
I want to catch everybody off. Okay, so let's get into this real quick now. We want to talk about one of the subjects that we've been talking about on the website and on the show for a couple weeks, and that is the subject of Derek Carr. I did an interview for silverandblacktoday.com with Michael Lombardi where I asked him, I called him, he was on his way to New Jersey to do some event, actually to work with Visson, to do a show out there with Jonathan Van Tobel. And
oh, yeah, that's every week, by the way.
yes, I know. Now it's a weekly show. So we're out there. I call him early morning. We have the conversation, and I ask him, what do you think about Derek Carr? What's the issue there? And this is what Lombardi had to say.
I'm really concerned about his inability to improve. I thought, John is a really good quarterback coach, and John makes quarterbacks better. It's, look, there was a time when John got to the Raiders that, there wasn't Rich Gannon and there was some bad quarter. And, they actually played half decent. And then he made Rich really good. So I think the biggest concern for me after 5 weeks is Carr hasn't really improved. He keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. Red areas interception, poor decisions on third down in the red area, not protecting the football, and I think that he holds the ball gets rid of the ball too quickly. And, I just think he's not been able to take that next step, and maybe he'll do it in the next 11 weeks. But so far, I haven't seen it.
And when you have a player that keeps making those same mistakes, where from the outside you can say, "Hey, well, look, it's the same mistake over and over again," and how come he's not learning from it? How much can a coach really do when a guy, especially with 5 years in the league now, how much can John really do to try to get him to make those decisions better? Or is it just something that a player always has to be able to do on the field without, being reminded to do it?
Well, I think, look, Andy Reid got Alex Smith to play a lot better. So this is not just this doesn't mean the end is near. It just means that it's a work in progress. And so it's just going to take some time. I think the one thing, and I'm not speaking for John, but I think the one thing that people thought of when they saw the Raiders, they thought, well, at least the quarterback position will really be good. And I think now that he's gotten in there, I think the work that's going to take to fix the quarterback position is probably more than they initially thought. And I think everybody has seen that. I think that's after 5 weeks, I think that's fairly clear.
All right, so there you have Michael Lombardi, and you can read that whole story up on silverandblacktoday.com. So, Matt, Lombardi's position basically is John Gruden, in essence, you read between the lines here, took the job partly because, and he said it actually in London this week too, because of Derek Carr. He had the quarterback. That was the one position they didn't have to worry about, and now it's become a worry after 5 weeks.
Carr looks so unsure of himself. And Lombardi talked about Carr holding on to the ball or getting rid of the ball too quickly. He also holds on to the ball too long. And the thing, that sounds ridiculous. He's too quick, too long. He doesn't have the decision-making right now. He's not making good decisions with the football. It's either, I think I see pressure, let me just dump it off real quick to either Richard out of the backfield or my tight end for a 2-yard gain, or I'm going to hold on to it because I don't see what I want to see, and I'm still looking, and now I'm getting sacked.
Right.
He doesn't have a grasp on this offense. I asked Gruden about that after the game last week. I asked him where he thought Carr was in his progression, whether or not he has a grasp on the offense, and he said he's fine. But then you watch tape and you go, he's not fine. He's not able to make quick decisions. His improvisation is gone. I don't know what happened to that. He used to be really good about getting out of the pocket, making throws on the run, things like that. And now he just kind of crumbles to the ground when anybody gets near him.
Well, what's interesting about it, too, I think, is that you asked the question when you were down there at the game covering it last week, as you mentioned, but also in London, the media asked the question in a very roundabout way, talking about talking about developing quarterbacks, and I think that question was about Carr, and this is how Gruden answered.
How are we developing our quarterback? Oh, you got to be creative. You got to be very creative. The hard part is not so much the starting quarterback, it's developing the second-string quarterback, the third-string quarterback, and certain phases of your offense that you're way behind. I always was taught that repetition is the mother of learning. And if you decrease the reps, obviously learning is not quite what it was. So I don't like the restrictions, but you have to adapt, and that's what I'm doing.
What third-string quarterback?
There is none. Number one.
I mean, who the hell are you developing down there as a third-string quarterback?
Number two, Matt, to that, I mean, it was a non-answer. He didn't want to address the elephant in the room, and frankly, the media didn't ask him directly like you did. To your credit, and to me though, Gruden is a master, and this is something we did, and I'm sure he learned in his television career and his long coaching career, which is when I did corporate media training with executives. When you get a question that you don't necessarily want to answer as unexpected, you buy yourself time. And if you notice at the beginning of that answer, develop quarterbacks. Oh, well, yeah. Well, and then he went into the whole point about restrictions around training and the number of people. So he didn't answer the question, which tells you it's an issue. Because, again, as Lombardi said and as everyone else has said, I'm not there to tell you today that I would give up on Derek Carr yet. It's not good. But later in that interview, Michael told me, he said, look, basically after next year, if he can't get through this year and improve, and then next year if you don't see any improvement, then you got to go.
Well, I was fortunate enough last week to be part of the PG.
You were live and on the phone.
They allowed me to call in and be part of their special show. But
our first guest, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. But no, that's what I said is Carr's best season statistically was the 2016 season, which happens to be the only season that he was in an offense for the second year in a row. So as bad as it looks right now, and as much as we want to crush Carr for playing so poorly, even though we're both sitting here wearing Carr jerseys today for a little moral support, you kind of have to give him a pass this year. You don't want to. You want to see this team play better. You want to see him progress as the season goes on, which unfortunately he's started to regress now. We'll see what happens today because Cleveland looked good and then L.A. looks terrible. But next season is going to be the big season. That's going to be the make or break year. If he comes out next year and he looks like this,
different story.
He's done.
Yeah.
I mean, Gruden's not going to put up with that. He doesn't have time to babysit a quarterback for half a decade.
And David Stepanian, who joins us all wild-eyed, bushy-tailed after working all night. Hey, so Derek Carr, do you then start to think about, do you maybe, as Lombardi suggested, look in the third, fourth round this year for a guy just to take a chance on a quarterback in case?
Oh, goodness. I don't want to give up hope on Derek Carr just yet. And this brings me back to when we were speaking to Jay Schrader a couple weeks ago. And I asked what he thinks could be the problem with Derek Carr. I mean, could it be he's just in a slump? Is it something mental? And he seemed to allude that it's the latter. It's something mental. I want to hope that Derek Carr is just in a funk right now, but it's an awful long funk. And I can't seem to wrap my head around what he can do to get out of this. But I don't want to give up hope on the guy just yet and start looking into the third, fourth round.
You can't give up hope and give up on him just yet, but I think you're right, Matt. I think if he doesn't progress the rest of the season, then your draft strategy changes, and you might start to think about doing something differently. Or maybe
you might be able to just go into free agency and get one of those clipboard guys that you feel confident enough in that he can come in and maybe just right the ship for a few weeks here or there. And then, because again, next year's the make or break year. I don't think you can base your draft decisions on what happens this year because it is such a complicated offense. He has had now, 6 playbooks in 5 years, or 5 playbooks in 4 years, or whatever the case is. I'm not good at math, but it's just, it's gotten out of control, the amount of offenses that he's had to be a part of. Give him a second year. If after next season he doesn't progress, that's a wrap, man.
No, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think we'll see what happens today. I think today's a big game for the Raiders, and we're going to talk more in depth about that coming up here later in the show. But yeah, it's a tough problem because in the NFL you have to have a quarterback to win. All right, We're going to step aside. We're going to pay some bills. When we come back, our weekly segment, our contributor, Vinny Bonsignore from the Athletic Los Angeles, will join us. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Callers and guests on the Newsmaker line are brought to you by the Law Office of Michael A. Troiano.
Hey, this is Rodney Hudson. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
All right, Rodney Hudson, he's got to have a big game today in the slop. I think it's going to be a little rainy in London today. We're going to go now on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line out to a place where it's not raining, it's snowing. Yes, October 14th, and it's snowing, and we bring in our weekly contributor, Vinny Bonsignore from the Athletic Los Angeles. Vinny, you keeping warm up there?
Trying to. I just went out and got a beanie and some gloves, so it is snowing. There's no question that it's snowing right now as we're approaching the stadium, and it's going to be a wet, wild, cold, snowy game for the Southern California Los Angeles Rams. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to the conditions for sure.
I know the Broncos love when the California teams come in and they get weather like that. Do they keep the press box pretty warm up there?
Yes, the press box is nice and comfy. Although I'm gonna man up. I'm gonna go down to the field prior to and get a feel for it, so I can relay to my readers and followers exactly what it feels like down there. Because a lot of my followers are Los Angeles based, and we don't get this. We never get this. So it's kind of a cool experience. I know a lot of Ram fans are pretty excited about that experience and seeing how they're going to adapt. And one thing I would add is, they got to play. The Rams have to play in December, mid-December in Chicago. Ooh. And hopefully for them, they want to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But if they should slip up or somebody else overtakes them as a top team in the NFC, there's a chance they're going to have to go on the road in cold, blustery conditions to win a big football game. So it's a nice early season test for them to see how they adapt to those type of conditions, because it really is cold. It's in the 20s today.
You have to go down there and experience that. The one game I got to be a part of in Green Bay, it was a December game. It was noon kickoff. There were snow flurries, and it was 6 degrees outside. And as miserable as that was, how do you go to Green Bay and not experience that? I mean, you have, right. And they came out. It was their first big winter storm, and the MC came out onto the 50-yard line, and he starts pounding the grass, and he goes, "Green Bay, the tundra is frozen," and the place lost their mind. It was a whole thing. And as much as it was miserable, you have to experience that, right?
Well, I love shoveling. I love shoveling sunshine myself. But Vinny, okay, so let's start off first with the Raiders item, and then we'll get to some of the other NFL stuff because you cover everything. But Derek Carr, we spent our first segment talking about that. I talked to Michael Lombardi this week for an interview on our website and on the show, and he said that despite the fact that the Raiders have lots of roster issues that they need to fix because they're basically rebuilding, he felt that the Raiders' biggest issue this year, and for Gruden as a coach, is the quarterback position and the inconsistency of Derek Carr. Would you necessarily agree with that? And what are you hearing from around the league as far as Carr and his struggles?
Well, in and of itself, the quarterback position is always going to be the most important aspect of any team. We see that across the league. If you don't have one, you're just basically spinning your wheels until you get one. So on one hand, I agree. The quarterback position is obviously the most important position. And right now, they're simply not getting the type of production I'm sure that they would have hoped for or expected. The question is it too soon to cut bait with him? I think it is. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that when it's all said and done, he's going to be a guy that you can build a Super Bowl contending team around? That just remains to be seen. And those questions, right now he's not. Right now he's not playing anywhere near what you would want from a guy that you're going to build a Super Bowl contending team around. But obviously it's 5 games in or whatever it is to, his first year in John Gruden's system. There's been a lot of changes around him. I think we talked about this before. This might be his 3rd or 4th offensive coordinator since he's gotten there. There's been a lot of changeover with the Raiders. I'm sure his head is spinning to some extent. So he's not playing. Yes, he's absolutely, of all the Raider issues right now, and there are a considerable amount with that roster, but you have to say the quarterback is the most important one right now. And until you get that solved, again, you're kind of just spinning your wheels.
I continue to talk about the mental aspect of Carr and his inability to make decisions in the pocket, and he doesn't improvise anymore. I think the thing that's not talked about enough, and I don't think that we'll ever get a clear answer on it, is how much the injuries are still affecting him. Because, yeah, you come back from a broken leg. It doesn't seem like that big a deal. But the broken back last season, he had those fractures in his vertebrae, and that takes time to heal, not only just the bones themselves, but from a muscle perspective, and getting that range of motion back and being able to really step into your throws and put that zip on the ball. Is there any talk that you've heard from anywhere about him still maybe not being quite right physically?
Yeah, you definitely hear that, and it stands to reason that he might not be. Backs are tricky things. Those are two serious injuries that he suffered in back-to-back seasons. That's going to take a toll. It's going to take a toll mentally. It's going to take a toll physically. And again, on top of that, there's been a lot of change around him. So, is the tentative way that he's been playing the result of not having a true command of the offense? I believe that to some extent that is the case. But then also you throw in the fact that he might not be A, healthy, or B, confident in that health. That's another issue that you have to overcome when you're dealing with injuries, is the mental aspect of it, and if I step this way, am I going to feel pain? Is there pain? Does he have to overcompensate for any sort of pain, or just worry that he's going to get hurt again? And all that plays into, I believe, where he is right now as a quarterback. And the one thing that I say is we've seen it from him before, that he's a capable quarterback and a high level quarterback. It's just a matter now of him settling back down and getting back to that level. But we don't know if he ever will again. And that's the tricky part of this. And you give him the necessary time, that's remaining on his contract to prove it. Or do you just say, hey, look, you know what? We don't see it. We don't think that we're going to ever see it. We're going to have to make a change at quarterback at some point. I think we're a ways away from that decision. But if he continues to play like that, he's going to expedite that.
All right, Vinny Bonsignore from The Athletic Los Angeles, live with us from a snowy Denver, covering the Rams and Broncos today. All right, Vinny, let's talk now a little bit more general NFL and ask the question. The Rams are up in Denver today. Denver, clearly the Rams a better team overall when you look at their roster, but a tough game in a tough environment. Then you also have the Chiefs going up to Foxborough today to take on the Patriots, which has always been a trap for it. Doesn't matter how good a team is doing. Who's better? Who's better, the Chiefs or the Rams at this point? Looking at, they're both undefeated, both having great seasons. The Chiefs a little more unexpected, obviously, than the Rams, who were a Super Bowl favorite going into the year. Who is the better team?
I think it's the Rams, and I think I believe that because they just have a better defense. And I know the last couple of weeks, you say, well, they gave up 62 points over the last two games, and that's, not good, obviously. But when you break that down and when you crunch those numbers, only 6 of those points, only 3 of those 62 points came in the fourth quarter. They've only given up 6 points overall in the fourth quarter this year, haven't given up a touchdown yet. They just seem to know when to turn it on and get settled in and get locked down and make the necessary plays to win football games. And I would expect that the process of them waiting until, the fourth quarter or so, as they have the last 2 weeks, to really get going defensively, I think that's going to change. I think that they're going to get settled down and play better. So for those reasons, I think offensively it might be a little bit of a wash. We haven't seen Patrick Mahomes deal with, much adversity yet. So that remains to be seen. He'll probably experience it a little bit today. He's going against the master and Bill Belichick, and you know what he does against rookie quarterbacks. And yeah, this is his second year, but I still kind of consider him a rookie quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles the Patriots and what they're going to throw at him, which is going to be everything but the kitchen sink. But to answer your question, I think it's the Rams. I think they're a more balanced team, but don't sell the Kansas City Chiefs short. That's an explosive, good young football team.
Yeah, I think you started to see maybe a little crack in the Mahomes mystique last week. He still had a good game, 313 yards, but 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. The Chiefs' offense was able to move the ball pretty well and beat a good Jacksonville defense, but he came back down to earth a little bit. And I think as the season progresses, and we talked about this, I think after maybe week 1 or 2 when we had you on, we talked about once they get film on this guy, things will tend to slow down a little bit as far as that Mahomes train goes. But you finally saw him start to look a little more like a second-year quarterback as opposed to the greatest thing ever, right?
Although, Vinny, I would say, too, Matt, as well, that the thing that I see in Patrick Mahomes that has made him what he is so far has been this calmness in the pocket, and with some of, the very short adversity he's had. We got about a minute left, Vinny. But, that's what you don't see in Derek Carr, right? Is the ability to just relax and to play it out and let things happen versus trying to force them.
Yeah, and it's the NFL. You're playing under duress all the time. There's no easy drop back and throw the ball to whoever you want. This is no longer, college anymore.
Unless you're playing the Raiders defense.
Yeah, right, exactly. But that's a hurdle that he's going to have to overcome. You just hope that it's there somewhere, and it's now on John Gruden and his staff to bring it back out of Derek Carr. But certainly through the first 5 weeks of the season, we have not seen it yet, and that is a concern.
And, Vinny, we got to run. So thank you, man. Stay warm up there in Denver.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, have fun in the snow, man.
All right. Vinny Bonsignore from The Athletic in Los Angeles. We'll be back right after this break. Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
In 1140.
The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
All right, we are back. Welcome back. Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 a.m. We are talking Raiders football ahead of their game at 10 a.m. in London against the Seattle Seahawks. I will not do the accent this hour. Thank God. But we're going to talk. We're going to talk defense now, guys. And as the Raiders roll into this game in Seattle, I know I was really excited about Paul Guenther coming on as defensive coordinator, and I still think he's a great coach. I think he's got the right scheme. I think right now he doesn't have the right guys to run it clearly. And if you look at the Raiders defense, and we have a story up on silverandblacktoday.com by our writer Jay Burrows about this, the Raiders rank 30th out of 32 teams when it comes to defense. And we saw it last week, Matt. You saw it live and in color and in person, unfortunately for you.
Yeah.
That this defense, I think, when they get the right pieces in place, it's the right scheme. But right now, they just don't have the talent.
We saw the right pieces in place in Cincinnati. We know what Guenther can do with a good defense, with good pieces in that defense. But they don't have anybody that can get pressure on the ball or on the quarterback consistently. They don't have linebackers. We thought that bringing in Johnson, you were finally going to have somebody who could cover. They don't have anybody that can cover. They can't get sideline to sideline at all. And then they don't have a secondary that can do anything. You have a 95-year-old safety still trying to make plays that can't catch up with anybody. You've got corners that are getting burned all over the place. There are no solid pieces on this defense right now. They talked about, getting draft picks back in that Mac trade so they could fill holes. They needed to get an entire draft worth of draft picks back to fill the number of holes they have.
And there are reports this morning that the Raiders are attempting to trade Carl Joseph and Derek Johnson, which I can't believe anybody would trade for Derek Johnson or Carl Joseph. But, hey, you never know. But, yes, clearly you have guys like Bruce Irvin who shows flashes but then has really boneheaded penalties we've seen over the last several weeks. And then Tahir Whitehead, who's performed well, they just don't have depth there. David, they don't have any, I think, playmakers. Maurice Hurst is putting in a good season. He doesn't have any help. So it doesn't always show up on the stat sheet. But if you're watching the film, that guy's playing really hard.
Oh, man, guys, I watching that Chargers game was just so deflating. And I know I picked the Chargers to win that game, but geez. I mean, I feel like if Phillip Rivers wanted to, he could have thrown for 400 yards easily. And I know Keenan Allen is a tough matchup for anyone. On the bright side, the Raiders did a decent job containing the Chargers' rush. I mean, Chargers were only averaging 2.5 rushing yards per carry. But as far as the passing game goes, oh, my goodness.
They did, but they didn't really have to run the ball that much.
No.
They couldn't contain them on the edge, and God forbid a running back flashed out of the backfield to receive a pass. The Raiders couldn't see the running back coming out of the backfield. It was almost like they didn't realize that running backs were eligible receivers because those guys were outside by themselves all day long.
From special teams to the defense to the offense. I mean, last week, I feel like that's a game that the Raiders are going to want to put in the back of their minds.
Oh, no doubt. But at the same time, you need to watch it because you need to learn from it. Now, the other thing is, too, talking to our friend Austin Gale over at Pro Football Focus, he told me this. Raiders defensive backs Rashawn Melvin and Gareon Conley have allowed 15 passes to go for 15-plus yards this season. So here you have a veteran who's supposed to come in and shore up a little bit, and then you have the rookie, which he's technically a rookie, you would expect to make some mistakes, but the propensity for them in the defensive backfield to give up the big play is not a good thing.
Where are the safeties? There
Absolutely.
is never over-the-top help.
Right.
You're seeing safeties pinch like bad defensemen in hockey. They're coming so far down into the box when they should be playing back. I mean, you just don't have that back end help at all, and that's why. Don't get me wrong. You're on an island as a corner. You need to be better one-on-one. You need to get that jam off the line. You need to disrupt timing, and you got to get your head around and make a play on the ball. But you got to have help. There's a reason they're called safeties. You got to have that help from time to time, and they're not getting it.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about the Raiders defense? 702-889-5978, call in. We also have a giveaway today, gents and ladies. We are able to give away some passes to the UNLV basketball preview out at Sam Boyd Stadium right before the Rebels football game. So call in for that, 702-889-5978. Callers 10 through 15. So we're giving away 5. We'll win that as well. So make sure you do that too. So, but the defense, it's an issue, and we're going to go out on the phone now.
You got a call from London.
We got a call from London. Is this Chaz Osborne from London?
In London.
Hey, good evening from Wembley. Good morning to your callers back in the States.
Okay.
This is Chaz Osborne from London.
Yes, Chaz Osborne, a good friend of mine going all the way back to high school and has worked in professional sports himself with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, you're out there, Chaz. Tell us what the environment's like and how many pints in are you so far in the evening?
Couple of pints for breakfast. That's the standard over here. Environment's incredible, man. It's about 50-50 Raiders, Seahawks fans. There's lots of other teams represented. I see Bears, I see Packers, Browns, a lot of Browns. Not sure why.
Yeah.
It's great. The Seahawks start their chant of Seahawk, and then it's quickly drowned out by the Raider fans screaming back, Peacock.
Nice.
So we're well represented here.
Well, go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm just it's so funny that you mentioned 50-50 with the Seahawks fans because up until about 5-6 years ago when they got on their little run.
Yeah.
When did you see Seahawks fans anywhere? My family's a big Disney family. We've talked about that. We go to Disneyland a lot. I never saw a Seahawks jersey in my life. 3 years ago we're there, and that's all I saw was Seahawks.
Yeah.
Maybe a Steve Larson or a Jim Zorn back in the day, but it's been a cold job for them until recently. It's funny how they just kind of pop up out of nowhere.
Everywhere.
Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck, no?
So Chaz, let me ask you this question. So the Raiders are going back. This is the second time they've been in London the last 5 seasons. The NFL is investing a lot in playing overseas in Mexico and, of course, in the UK. When you talk to folks over there, folks that live there, that live in London, that are Brits, what is their view of American football?
We actually did talk to a lot of people the last couple of nights, and they're into it. They've all got their teams, and they're a lot of the ones wearing the Giants jerseys and the Patriots jerseys. There's a couple just walked by me right now with a Brady jersey on. So
that's ironic.
They seem to be taking to it. There's still the hardcore, the traditionalists that think their football is what they started with soccer, and ours is just American rules rugby or something. But I feel like the younger ones are into it, and the NFL is definitely taking a stronghold over here.
Yeah, we're talking to Chaz Osborne here from London. He is a lifelong Raider fan and a personal friend of mine. So Chaz, you're getting ready to go into Wembley. That's a historic spot. It's, of course, been remodeled. Hosted concerts like Live Aid with the amazing Queen performance by Freddie Mercury and others. How excited are you as a Raider fan to be able to go over there and experience all that London is, but also get to see the Raiders hopefully get back in the win column?
Yeah, not just as a Raider fan, but just a sports fan in general. This is just, it's a shrine. The stadium, we're already inside now, and it's just incredible. It's bigger than you would imagine, and you feel the chills walking in. Just like any sports fan, they want to get all of their ballparks out of the way. Or a horse racing fan wants to go to Churchill and all the great tracks. This is just one great stop, and it feels great to finally make it here.
I'm assuming you've done some sightseeing out there and taken time to enjoy the city. Has it been silver and black at all the fun, whether it's Towers Bridge or Big Ben or any of these places? Has everybody been repping their Raiders gear?
We saw some Raider fans storming the castle.
That's awesome. Oh, my gosh.
It's been 50-50. A lot of Seahawks out here, too. They're really well represented.
Yeah.
It's a good friendly rivalry. It's nice.
That'll be good. Well, Chaz, man, thanks so much. And please give our best to Martin Diaz, who's also there with you.
Martin Terry says hello to you fellas. He says you do a great job. He enjoys the show.
All right.
And we appreciate you being on.
The class of 88, Carlsbad, California High School, baby. All right. Chaz, thanks, buddy. Enjoy yourself, and I'll look forward to seeing the pictures.
You got it.
All right, Chaz.
A Raider victory for you.
Sounds good, man. Chaz Osborne from London. That's right.
Front-running Seattle fans. Never saw. I'm telling you, man. You never saw Seahawks jerseys anywhere.
You know what's interesting, though, too, is I know he says it's 50-50, and I don't doubt that at all. But I will tell you, the Raiders he sent me a picture. He went to a gathering earlier in the week there's an organization called Silver and Black UK, which is like a fan club, and their logo's oddly familiar to ours. But nonetheless, and he was there, and the Raiders, it goes back to the point, we talk about all the time that it kind of sucks that the Raiders have to play these home games overseas, but the brand, Matt, is so strong, and there's such a following for the Raider Nation across the globe that the NFL likes to send them because they know there's going to be a built-in fan base.
Well, they started the whole nation thing. You've got it now with everybody who wants to do, Patriots Nation, Red Sox Nation, whatever. That all started with the Raiders. They were the originators with Raider Nation, and it's because they are such a global brand. How many teams are associated with their colors, their uniform more than anything? Yankees pinstripes, Raiders silver and black. I mean, that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Well, we're going to talk Gareon Conley when we come back with our senior NFL analyst, Chris Reed. Hang right there. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
Hey, this is Tim Brown, Hall of Famer. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
Wake up the echoes, baby. Notre Dame, they squeaked by yesterday. Tim Brown, of course.
Imagine Tim Brown in this offense with Carr, who doesn't even look at receivers.
Oh, my gosh. And he was at the Notre Dame game yesterday, Tim Brown. He was tweeting pictures. That was kind of cool.
So was my buddy, man.
Was he?
He tweeted me pictures. He went to the game. I was like, he's a Duck alum. Should have been at that game watching the Ducks beat Washington.
That was a huge win.
He's in South Bend going to a Notre Dame game. I don't know what he's doing out there.
That's a bucket list trip.
Well-traveled.
You got to go to that one. But interesting story. I come out of my son's flag football game, and my wife's the defensive coordinator, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, I married the right woman. So we get out of the game, and I turn on the Notre Dame game, and it's 7-6 at halftime. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Pittsburgh is awful. But you know what? Good teams, they find a way to win even when they play bad. So they did. All right, well, we're going to switch gears now. We were talking about the defense in the last segment. We mentioned the defensive backs and the lack of good safety play, but also Gareon Conley. Now, everybody was eager to see him as he came in this year after a rookie year that was beset by injuries. So Conley comes in, and last week we see and we hear from Paul Gunther that his snaps have been cut back with Darryl Worley coming off the suspension list. And our own senior NFL analyst, Chris Reed, out on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line, joins us now to talk about this. And Chris, welcome back to the show, first of all.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. Are you surviving the rain down there in Phoenix?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy yesterday.
It rains in Phoenix?
It's
like rain here, man.
I know, it's
such
crazy.
an anomaly.
They get crazy weather down there, worse than ours. But listen, so Chris, you wrote a story up on silverandblacktoday.com. I invite everybody to do. It's the weekly breakdown segment you do, which is one of our most popular pieces on the site. After last week's game, many people started jumping to conclusions as we saw Conley's snap count, or the time he played on the field, for those of you who don't know what that means, cut back significantly. And, of course, Darryl Worley, coming off suspension, got most of that time. When you looked at the film and asked the question, is he regressing, what did you find?
Yeah, I went into it kind of thinking, well, let's see what's wrong with Conley, what's going on with him, and he actually looked really good. It was just the case that, like you said, Daryl Worley came in and he played so well that you really couldn't look at that situation and not play Worley.
Yeah, but we also saw, and a statistic we mentioned in the last segment from Pro Football Focus, which shows that between Melvin and Conley, 15 passes over 15 yards, so giving up some longer of the pass plays. And we saw that last week. In fact, in your analysis, you had that 48-yard pass in the third quarter after Derek Carr threw that interception in the end zone. What was it? What is it about those longer plays? Matt talked about the lack of safety play, but what was it on that play specifically against the Chargers where he gave up almost a 50-yard gain?
I'm not sure if it was a communication breakdown with Marcus Gilchrist where he said, I'm going to take any outbreaking routes on this, but they ran a dagger concept with a bench route and a fade route from the number one receiver, which was Conley's responsibility. And Conley started to squat with the outside breaking route, letting his guy, run down the field wide open. Fortunately, he had the makeup speed to catch up to him, but that was kind of the play that got him the hook.
I kind of feel like a lot of times with this team, in this secondary in particular, and Gruden was asked about shuffling in so many different defensive backs and having such a rotation back there, but it's almost as though they're having trouble putting the right combination on the field, if that makes sense. Kind of like when you shuffle lineups in basketball, you're only dealing with 5 guys, but sometimes a certain 5 gel better on the court than another 5 do, even if it's just 1 or 2 pieces that are changed. I feel like they're not getting the best group of defensive backs on the field at one time, whether it's, having Worley and Connolly out there at the same time. They're not finding the right combination.
Yeah, and the other issue, you kind of want to get a group of guys together because just like basketball, you need them to work together and communicate well. So getting, one group that's going through practice and on the field at the same time will certainly help the back end of the defense.
Well, now looking at it, since you went deep on Conley on this one, I guess that's not a good way to say it because he's giving up deep passes. Right?
The show takes so many left turns, man.
Chris, what though? We looked at it, and you said you were somewhat surprised. Hey, look, he's not really doing that much wrong. What has Conley shown us so far this year that he's doing really, really well?
Except for guys like Tyreek Hill or John Ross, that are just built to blow by people, there's nobody that you have to really worry about just blowing the doors off of Conley. You can put him on whoever, and he can physically match up with them. I think it's going to just be a situation where the coaches have to get more comfortable with him. The back end needs to communicate better. And hopefully Conley gets some more confidence and willingness to play more physical.
How much of Rogers Cromartie and Nick Nelson have you had a chance to look at? Because you see Cromartie once in a while. I feel like Nelson hasn't even really played. You're just not seeing enough out of these guys. Are they being used enough, or are they kind of stuck down on that depth chart?
Yeah, it's kind of strange because Nelson's constantly on the inactive list. Cromartie has looked all right. You almost have to stop the film every time and get a list of who's on the field because they do change it so much. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of surprising that they haven't played Nelson as good as he looked in the preseason.
And that's the thing I keep getting is why are they not? And I don't know that Nelson is the best option. We again look good in the preseason, but we haven't seen enough of him. It feels like they're not getting the right combinations out there. Put your best guys out there. And in a season where it feels like it's all but slipped away at this point, why not get these young guys out there and just let them get reps? If you're going to play them in preseason for that reason, why would you not play them in a season that's already lost?
I think some of it, too, the veterans. I know when it starts coming down to seeing what you got, everybody thinks of the young players. A lot of the veterans are on one-year contracts, so they need to know what they have in them as well when it comes re-signing and who they want to keep and build around in the future.
Yeah. No, amazing analyst work from Chris Reed, our senior NFL analyst at Silver and Black Today. Chris, man, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you, I'm sure, next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, Chris Reed, senior NFL analyst with silverandblacktoday.com. And that's the thing, too. I'm just uncertain on kind of what they're it's hard to know what the coaches are thinking because there's just no rhyme or reason to some of it.
Well, he talks about seeing what you have out of the veterans when, let's be honest, man, the veterans that they have on this team are not frontline starters at this point. It's not like they brought in guys that that are really going to make an impact over the course of the next several seasons.
I thought Melvin would, but he's been disappointing in my view.
But again, he's not. I don't think he's a long-term answer. I mean, that's why you've been drafting so heavy in the defensive backfield. They're drafting these guys, Conley, Nelson, Joseph, for that reason, and then you just kind of shove them down the depth chart for kind of second-tier veterans.
I know. We got to see. It's going to be interesting. All right, well, listen, we are going to step aside for a sports update. When we come back, the original OG, original Raiderette Sandy Humphers Denney will join us. Don't miss this interesting segment on the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 11:40 a.m. in the city of Las Vegas. Hang right where you are.
The only way you can take CBS Sports Radio 1140 with you is the radio.com app. Download it today and listen to us anytime, anywhere. The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbranson and Matt Gutierrez.
Welcome back, everyone. We are the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, coming to you live from the Dollar Loan Center, don'tbebroke.com studios, just off the Las Vegas Strip. We can see it from our windows, as a matter of fact. And one of the great things about Raider Nation and about the Raiders in general is the sense of history and just how this franchise, how it came together, and all different pieces of it. And one of the biggest pieces, I think, that people love about the Raiders organization and the mystique and everything, sure, it's the guys on the field, sure, it's the players who made the Silver and Black what it is today, but also the Raiderettes. There's no question the Raiderettes are outside of maybe in the 70s, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, the most famous and most recognizable group of a cheer squad in the NFL. And we are joined today, we go out on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line, and we welcome in one of the original Raiderettes, circa 1961. They call them the original OGs. And Sandy Humphers Denney joins us. Sandy, how are you this morning?
Good morning. Hello, I'm fine. Thank you for having me on your fabulous show.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's good to have somebody on the show that doesn't sound like Matt and I for once, and to get some female voices on the show. We love it.
Well, I hope you'll enjoy my stories, and I love the Raider fans, so I'm glad they're going to tune in today.
Awesome. Well, so let's talk first. I mean, 1961, the Raiders, obviously in the Bay Area, they start playing out, and you start performing as a Raiderette at Frank Ewell Field, and then Candlestick Park, and then later the Oakland Coliseum. And so back then, first of all, the Raiders, I got a picture from Denise Villanueva, who works with you, of the original Raiderette jackets, which were not black and silver.
That's right. Black and gold. Most people don't realize that.
Yeah, it's interesting, the history of the team and how it started kind of fledgling. Now, when you look at the NFL today and you see the dance and cheer squads, it's such a major production. When you guys started out as being this new group, the Raiders were recruiting young ladies in the Bay Area. Is that correct?
That's correct. They were actually already playing over at Candlestick and Kezar Stadium in San Francisco while they were getting Frank Ewell Field ready for their home team games. And we were promoted from dance studios, baton twirler classes, and we're getting ready to welcome them to Oakland.
Back then, this is Matt Gutierrez, this was an upstart league, not just a new franchise, but the AFL was an upstart league trying to compete with the NFL, just trying to get their feet underneath them. What was the fan reaction to not just the team, but to seeing you ladies out there and being part of this new, exciting, fun offense kind of league?
Matt, you're right. It was new, and I got the feeling most of the time they had no clue what we were, so we had to go out try and explain what was going on, what's going to happen, and we're Raiderettes, and we're going to cheer on our team. It wasn't like it is now. It was really the beginnings, and it's good to have been part of it, but I think they have a lot more fun now.
So Oh, yeah, no. Again, we're talking to Sandy Humphers Denney, one of the original Raiderettes. Now, Sandy, when you think about those times in the early 60s, and Matt touched on it, this new fledgling league and team, and everything is kind of starting from scratch, what are some of your fondest memories about those early days when you were suddenly thrust into this environment of pro football?
I have to laugh because I cannot tell you on the air my fondest memory. I can tell you later. When I see you in Las Vegas, I'll tell you what that memory is.
Deal.
You know, I do remember, as we were trying to get the fans involved at Frank Yule Field, which was our job, I think they liked it best when the players ran over us on the sideline.
Come on! Oh my goodness!
Well, that's true.
Oh, really? It was. Yes. It's sort of like the NASCAR effect. Like people like to see crashes.
I think so. Now that you mention that.
Sandy, when did you become football's fabulous females? That's the line attached to the Raiderettes. Was that something that came about in year one, or over time did that become kind of your moniker?
I think that came about over time because they certainly did develop into fabulous women. We who started it were so proud of them, and I'm not sure of the exact date when they got that legacy name, but it wasn't the first year, that's for sure.
Well, and what's amazing about this group, just like the players, the Raiders organization, as you know, Sandy, it really always says, once a Raider, always a Raider with their players. So when you go to a Raider alumni event, you see guys from all eras, they come out, and the same can be said for the original Raiderettes. You guys do a lot of appearances with current. Now, being in Las Vegas and being in the future home of the Raiders, we are starting to see Raiderettes. We go to a lot of community events here that we cover and other events related to the stadium, and the Raiderettes are there, the current Raiderettes. But you guys, I mean, it's amazing how people love to meet you guys because being the original crew and having those stories, which you're going to tell us live and in person, that really is something you people love being around you guys when you get the original group together.
I know, and we are more amazed than you are. It's just hard to believe. Sometimes they actually tear up. I guess we're just part of history. They love to tell us stories about going to the Raider games. They want pictures for their parents. It's just awesome. We love it.
We love the Raiders' history. I'm a lifelong Raiders fan. Scott's newly indoctrinated, but he's becoming a big fan of the Raiders' history. But obviously, being out here in Vegas, and Scott just mentioned it, we are part of the Raiders' future now. How, for somebody who's been around this organization since day one, essentially, how do you feel about this move to Vegas and what it could do for this team?
Well, of course, the fans here, a lot of them are sad that they're leaving, but real fans just want them to do well, be happy where they're at. And I know Las Vegas has a great Raider fan base, and I'm sure that a lot of people will be flying in to watch the games. I think there's a lot of excitement. I was there the day they actually announced that they were coming, and it was the strangest thing. I was like Back to the Future because I was on the first field, and then I looked out the window of where they're building the next field, and I love to be part of it. I think Las Vegas is going to be great for them with such wonderful fans.
Hey, Sandy, David Stepanian here. I just want to go back to when you first became a Raiderette, and that was in the AFL days. Did you ever envision that the Raiders back then, did you ever envision that they would be what they are today, as big as they are today?
I didn't. I don't think anyone did. When we were there, they had a little wooden bench. They didn't have good safety protection. They were like just young boys, and now look at them now. I'm just so proud, and they're wonderful. There are a lot of wonderful Raider players that do charity events. I mean, it's bigger than anyone can imagine, and I'm so proud of them.
Sandy, Scott touched... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said we'll always be cheering for them every year. We cheer from the Bay Area, from the Los Angeles Raiderettes. Soon we'll be a sisterhood in Las Vegas, and we'll always be their cheerleaders.
I want to ask you real quick about the change. Scott mentioned wearing the black and gold in the first couple of seasons, but you were there for the change to silver and black. We don't get to talk to many people that wore the black and gold and then wore the silver and black. What kind of response did you guys get from that? Because it's such nowadays, I mean, it's just such an iconic look, and we talked about silver and black being associated with the team, which you don't see very often, colors being associated with a team. What was that changeover like?
Well, it really wasn't very quick. It was a slow progression of change. I was always in black and gold, and then when the Oakland Coliseum opened, our friends were in black and with a little bit of silver writing. So it didn't happen right away. It happened down the line. And I just remember seeing pictures of them on the TV Guide and things, and it just was awesome. I wasn't involved in it then, but it sure is a good look, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, to keep up with the original Raiderettes, you can go to theoriginalraiderettes.com. And better yet, Sandy, if they want to meet you guys, you're going to be here next weekend for the Raider Fan Convention in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay from 12 to 6. And that's your first time coming to the convention, is it not?
Yes, it is. And we are so looking forward to the fans and hearing their stories, signing our pictures and having pictures with them. We are so excited about it.
Yes, and you guys, I mean, just a great bunch of ladies, and it's phenomenal that you're still involved and that you guys all stay in touch still. Now, one last question before we let you go, Sandy. Who is your favorite Raider of all time?
Well, we would have to say the majority always go for 00, Jim Otto.
Nice.
And he's part of the story I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that, and we'll look forward. We're going to be down there with the Raiders Red Zone Booster Club at their booth and the NFL alumni. So we will see you there, Sandy. And I just want to thank you. Oh no, I want to thank you so much for giving us the time today, and I look forward to meeting you and talking to you some more.
Yes, and we're looking forward to meeting you. Come see Linda and June. They're fabulous, too.
I will do that. Again, Sandy Humphers Denney from the Original Raiderettes, theoriginalraiderettes.com. You can meet her at the Raider Fan Convention next Saturday at Mandalay Bay. That runs from 12 to 6. So we are excited about that, so make sure you do that. All right, cool.
What is this story going to be, man?
It's going to be interesting. That was great, though, to see the history and to understand the history of what was happening there. So, all right, well, there we go. We have our first full Raiderette segment of this show's history done. And we appreciate the original OG coming on and doing that. When we come back, we're going to shift gears into the game ahead coming up at the top of the hour in London, the Seahawks and the Raiders. Governor. All right, there we go again.
I don't know what the hell that accent.
Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Callers and guests on the Newsmaker line are brought to you by the Law Office of Michael A. Troiano. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gulbranson.
Welcome back, Raider Nation. Las Vegas' only all-Raiders talk show here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 AM. And we are going to switch gears now and talk about the game here at the top of the hour, because we are your official pregame show today, guys. I mean, I love that when we're pre-Raiders game.
Man, that last segment was so awesome, though.
Sandy was great.
Sandy was awesome.
The Jim Otto story, that's gonna be awesome. We'll clean it up eventually after we talk to her. Double O, and we had lots of theories on why he wore 00, but we'll talk about that another time. So,
Once again, left turns, baby. Left turns.
Is this serious XM now?
I'm trying. I'm frisky today. Woo! All right. So here we go.
Over, man.
We're talking about boom. Okay, we're going to talk now Raiders and Seahawks. We want to hear what you guys have to say. 702-889-5978 is the number. We still have those UNLV tickets to give away for the basketball preview as the Runnin' Rebels get set to kick off their season. Hopefully they don't give up 100 points in 2 weeks. Well, I guess
Loyola Marymount. November 10th.
November 10th. See, it's coming
ready.
quick. It's coming quick. So we'll have those tickets as well. We also have some autographed pictures from the original Raiderettes that we can give away too. So call in 702-889-5978. But let's shift gears now. We asked a question, and we'll start here. We talked about Derek Carr. We're going to close the book a little bit on that. But on Twitter yesterday, we got a couple hundred responses. Will Derek Carr put together his best game of the season while across the pond in London? Yes, he'll have a big day, or he'll do more of the same. And it was 53% think that DC is going to have a big day.
Now, I'm a gambler because you said yes. I was thinking yes plus 320. Or no, minus 500.
But let's look at the numbers here, guys, too. So if we look at, we'll focus on the offensive side of the ball for the Raiders. The Raiders rank fifth in overall offense, which means absolutely zero. And I'll tell you why. They're not high in scoring offense, number one. In red zone offense efficiency, that's percentage of touchdowns once they get a red zone, they're tied for 25th. The Seahawks are number one in that. So if the Seahawks get in the red zone, they score.
Red zone efficiency. I can't believe we didn't talk about that play last week against the Chargers, the interception.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's...
we're talking about red zone efficiency.
Derek Carr's third interception thrown in the end zone this season. Fifth time he's thrown an interception on first down. That is why this offense is so bad when it comes to scoring offense numbers. Yeah, they can go up and down the field, but then they get there and they literally turn the ball over.
It's first down, guys. I mean, you don't think you could punch it in with Marshawn Lynch?
No. Once again, that question was asked to both Carr and Gruden in their post-game press conference, and essentially their answer was, well, what we saw on film was this, and we knew we could get him in this, and if you do that enough times, giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch, eventually the defense will stop you, but you're not doing it at all. So when are they supposed to stop you when you don't even give them the option?
Serenity now. Man. Okay, so speaking of that, though, and Matt, great segue. We didn't even pre-organize that. Talking about Marshawn Lynch, and thank you, David, for bringing up that interception. What we're talking about here, and they asked over in London, they had a press conference which had some really bad sound, so excuse some of the squeaks and stuff in here because apparently in the UK they don't know how to do sound. We have a couple of clips here. The first is Coach Gruden talking about Marshawn Lynch, what he means to the team, and also the former Seahawks, the kind of storyline of the Seahawks, Irvin and Lynch playing their old team in London.
I would think so. We've got a few ex-Seahawks on our team, Bruce Irvin, Clinton McDonald, and certainly Marshawn Lynch, the most well-known ex-Seahawk on our football team. He's had a lot to do, I think, with the Super Bowl ring that the Seahawks wear. He was the heart and soul of that team. And in a lot of ways, he's the heart and soul of the Raiders right now. He's still running with that incredible physicality. He's been durable. He's practiced every day. Behind the scenes, he's one of our leaders. He's a little bit misunderstood by a lot of people, but believe me, if you were coaching a football team, he'd be one of the first guys you'd want on your team.
And see, the audio guys, too many Guinness or Harps or whatever they're drinking.
He mentioned Lynch being part of their Super Bowl ring. Pardon the pun, but he would have been the linchpin behind two Super Bowl rings had they just given him the damn ball, right?
Oh, my gosh.
I cannot believe that on the biggest stage, you watch Pete Carroll make the most bonehead decision ever, which is to throw the ball on first and goal with the Patriots on the ropes, Super Bowl on the line, interception. Everybody watched that play. Everybody talks about that play. And you've done it how many times? This season alone.
And last week you did it.
What are you doing, man?
Well,
and Carr even said he would never do that.
We do have audio.
But let me get you guys even more fired up about the lack of Lynch being used. Here's Gruden again on the importance of Marshawn Lynch for the Raiders offense.
Probably. We got a lot of guys that need to see the ball more. We need to get the ball more, take care of the ball better on offense. We've done some good things offensively, but good is not good enough. We need to start playing great offensively, and to do that, we need to see more of Lynch. We need to see a little bit more of the ball going across the goal line. That's the big thing.
That's a real quote.
Look, oh my Like, I want to come through the microphone right now and ask him
feel like
who's calling the plays.
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
I don't understand. Like, is John Gruden one of us? Is he a media member that doesn't have control over this offense? Or is he the head coach who calls the plays in the game? Oh, we really need to get Marshawn Lynch. Then call his number more.
Well,
that's
my point is you have two clips there in succession, right? Where he's asked questions. First, it was about the Seahawks and Lynch, and then he on his own. The media didn't ask him specifically about Lynch; he just asked him about former Seahawks. He goes on about how Marshawn Lynch was basically the most important part of that Super Bowl team, and then he talks about in the second clip how we got to get Marshawn Lynch the ball more, but yet then in the press conference after the game last week says, I would throw it again on first down.
We need to get Marshawn Lynch the ball more. It's 1st and goal from the 1. You have a chance to get back in this game. Who should we give the ball to? Well, not Marshawn Lynch. What the hell are you doing, man?
It's almost like they were trying to reenact the Super Bowl.
Yes.
They did a good job.
It's remarkable. So
we got Jeff on the line.
Jeff, you're on the Silver and Black today. Tell me what you got, man.
Comment about Cooper. With the rumors coming out currently about Cooper, the Raiders always seem to be a step late. Last year, the KC game where he had that breakout game, that would have been the time to basically throw it out there and see what they would get. At this point, trading Cooper, I honestly don't think that they're going to get what they would have gotten last season.
No, it's a good question, and I think the thing with Cooper too, and I was on this bandwagon maybe because I didn't pay attention to the numbers. I'm not saying Cooper doesn't need to be focused on, but here's the thing: you look at receptions. Jared Cook's far ahead, 30 receptions. Second is Richard with 24, and then Amari Cooper 22. He has more than Jordy Nelson. And so if you look at it, the numbers aren't terrible. It's just the inopportune times in which they don't look for him.
Well, break those numbers down even further. 22 receptions, 10 of them came in one game against Cleveland.
but you've got to examine his body of work as far as a Raider. Mm-hmm. And he honestly, outside of the first few games he played as a rookie, he looked incredible. And then the nagging injuries, and you also have to look. He insists on wearing the least amount of protective gear that he can. And I don't know if that had any correlation with his injuries, and he's been injury-prone since he's been a Raider. But since the beginning, and the Raiders, like I say, if you can go back to the running back that they drafted out of Arkansas, and they held on to him too long. I think he's currently still on the roster at Dallas. But
no, he's gone.
McFadden.
He retired.
Yeah, McFadden retired.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No.
But anyway, it's just they just seem to be a step behind, their moves. And I'm go ahead.
No, I don't think you honestly, I wouldn't trade Cooper. He's at a point now where he's due for a contract next season. If he continues to play like this, then he's not going to garner top dollar. And like you mentioned, what are you going to get for him? I don't think there's really any point in trying to shop him at this point, because if you can sign him for cheap, he has talent. We know the talent is there. They just don't look his way. I mean, one target last week. One target.
Yeah. And hey, thanks for the call, man. We really appreciate it. And you listening to Silver and Black today. And I got to be honest though, I have nothing against. I like Amari Cooper, but I think if you're the Raiders, when it comes to wide receiver, it's the least of your problems. You can always get young wide receivers, and if he doesn't, to your point, Matt, if he doesn't come on here at the end of the year, then I say you just walk away, or you sign him to whatever you can for a minimum amount of contract, and you go get another guy.
It's not Cooper, in my opinion, right now. I mean, we know Cooper's had his issues, but when you target a guy one time, and don't tell me watching film that Cooper didn't get open last week, because we know he did. I was there. I saw it. He got open.
He did.
It's a quarterback problem.
Well, and we'll pick this back up. We're going to do Matt's Audible here in the next segment. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
In life.
This is Cliff Branch, formerly of the Oakland Raiders, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 4-time Pro Bowl, and you listen to the Silver and Black Show.
All right, and Cliff can call our show whatever he wants. Because
Cliff's awesome, man. He lets us wear his rings. So,
he lets us wear his rings.
He can pretty much do anything he wants around here.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite pictures. By the way, if you want to meet Cliff Branch today, you can. Free autographs.
Today?
Go down to the Westgate. Yes.
Please tell me more.
The Raiders Red Zone Booster Club and Cheryl Burnham Thornton, who's actually in London, so she's not there. They're having a special thing in the theater at the Westgate today. Go down there. You can meet him as well as Jerry Robinson, so you can hang out. We had a fan of ours ask us where's their watch party today, and that's the one I would go to. By the way, we also want to make sure that you guys know of our other great programming here on CBS Sports Radio. On Saturdays from 8 to 10 in the same time slot, catch Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas. Matt is a co-host on that show. They talk all about Las Vegas sports, which it's not doing real well right now. In fact, how many wins combined between all the teams?
Shout out to John Castanino really quick.
4? 5.
Well, the Knights finally got their a win yesterday. They got their second win.
Fleury got the win.
UNLV has 2.
Football, if you can call it football,
has 2.
And
that's 4.
They've given up over 100 points in the last 2 games.
Raiders have 1.
And may
5.
not get a second one this season if things keep going the way they're going.
Yeah. So all 3, and everybody else is out of season now. All 3 of the Las Vegas sports combined, counting the Raiders, have.
We have a brand new stadium opening up in a couple of years, and I know you guys have driven by it. You've got the construction going on with the steel beams going up now, so you're starting to see the skeleton,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
You can get a feel for the size, the enormity of it. You got a feel for the shape of it now. And the 2 teams that are going to go into that stadium, you have one of, if not the worst Division I football program in all of NCAA.
They're next to last, by the way.
And
Rutgers is worse.
And you have maybe the worst run NFL franchise over the last 20 years moving into that stadium. Man,
are you excited about today's game?
They've got to clean stuff up in the next couple of years.
And they will.
Honestly, they're going to have to do some major work before they jump into that stadium.
But
or it's going to be ugly.
Catch Sports Adrenaline 8 to 10 on Saturdays. Then, of course, this show 8 to 10 on Sundays. And then later today from 4 to 6 p.m., your live and local NFL postgame show where we first and foremost wrap up the Raiders action of the day at the top of the show. Then we give you the rest of the NFL action and key games. Tony Cardasco, myself, and today we have Carrington Harrison from Sports Radio 610 in Kansas City to preview the Chiefs and Patriots, the big game of the day. And I think the Patriots are going to run. Anyway, it's time for the audible. Matt's under center. His soft hands are ready to go.
Ooh.
Man, I don't even know. I quit.
You're not gonna call Omaha.
You know,
right?
Matt wears lotion gloves too. You know that, right?
Omaha. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Anyways, we've had fun talking about London and Big Ben and Towers Bridge and all that good stuff.
Look, kids, Big Ben,
and
Parliament.
This is the dumbest. I hate everything about the NFL playing games in London, in Mexico City. I can't stand the entire idea. You want to play preseason games over there and get fans into it that way, that's fine. Nobody cares about preseason out here anyways. Most fans are upset about the fact that they have to pay season ticket prices as part of their package just to get their regular season tickets. Why are we taking home games away from home fans? And I understand that the teams still make money. The Raiders get a nice chunk of money to take their games out of the Coliseum and go to Mexico City or to go to London. It's a good payday for them. But what about fans in Oakland? What about fans in Vegas once they get here? Because rumors are they're going to continue to do this even when they have a new stadium here in Vegas. What about those fans? The whole point is to be endearing to your home fans, to the fans that are in your market, that pay money to go to these games at your home venue. Why are you taking games away from those fans? Coupled with the fact that up until just a couple of years ago when they finally decided Vegas wasn't taboo, they were taking games to Wembley Stadium, which has bookies on site. On-site bookies, and Vegas couldn't even air a commercial during the Super Bowl to put out just promo for the city, right? Just the city, not even gambling, just come to Vegas and have fun. They couldn't even do that. There's so much hypocrisy within taking these games overseas. It drives me nuts. I hate these games.
So I agree with you to a point, but I think it all comes down to what it always comes down to, and that is the dollar, and that is business, and it is branding. Because if you look at other sports, it's happening there too. Not that I agree with it, but for example, I'm a big Notre Dame football fan. Notre Dame plays a game all over one game, sometimes 2 at different places. This year they're playing in Yankee Stadium. Now, again, you're taking. If I'm a student at Notre Dame, well, most of them probably can afford a trip to New York. But anyway, I can't go to New York to see my team. I'm losing a home game, and I only got 4 years in college. Or if I'm a season ticket holder in Notre Dame, I'm losing the game as well, right? So it's the same problem. But I don't think they care because if they want to spread the brand, they want to make money outside the markets because now they look at it as, you know what? It used to be, we got to get people in Oakland to the games, and so we got to do everything we can. Now they want it to be everywhere. Again, not agreeing with it, just saying that that's their approach, and it comes down to the dollar. Even baseball's doing it, right? Playing games in Mexico and other places.
But I feel like you're, I feel like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, though. We want to branch out to all these other markets, right? What's wrong with the market that you need to hang on to and grow the most, which is your home market? Why? And don't get me started on maybe we'll move the Jacksonville Jaguars to be the London Jaguars. Are you kidding me with that? Logistically, that's an absolute sponsor nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
That is an absolute nightmare to put a team overseas as their permanent home.
Right. I have sort of a different take on this. I don't exactly mind the London games. I mean, just because they've been going on for so long, so for a few decades now, and they sell out every year. And the fans in London, I guess something like 2 million people in the UK watch the NFL London game every year on TV. If they're selling tickets and there's fans in London that want to go out and watch the game, and I understand your point, fans in Oakland are losing a home game. If you take it one step further, I don't like the idea of the Jaguars going to London, and I felt like we were pretty close to that, 7-8 years ago. There was a time quite a few years ago where that seemed like a real possibility. But I don't mind the Raiders playing a game in London.
Well, the Chargers could move there; they might get more fans. But
they can't get less. I can tell you that much.
But here's the deal, though. So David mentioned they've been playing for decades. 1990, going back, the Raiders played in London in 1990. The difference is, and this is where Matt's point comes in, and I think it's really well founded, and that is up until around the mid 2000s. So the last decade, they were all preseason games. Mm-hmm. Now, preseason games, I don't mind.
It's fine. You can put every preseason game in another country for all I care. Nobody cares anyways about the preseason.
I say the next time the Raiders play, they should play in Tehran, Iran. You know why? You send over Raider Nation, that'll take care of the Iranian problem right there.
Oh my God.
Man.
Are we allowed to say that? Come on, guys.
What do you mean?
What is up with this show today?
Well, diplomacy doesn't work. Send over Raider Nation. Hey, it's a tough group, and I'll put Raider Nation up against it.
A lot of Armenians in Iran, by the way. Fun fact.
Yes. As a matter of fact.
Yeah. Gegard Mousasi, Bellator champion. Random fact. But I don't
nowhere with that.
No. Well, okay. You're mentioning Iran. I just don't see the. I don't live in Oakland, so it's not as big of a deal to me. But I really don't mind. I really don't mind that one regular season game here, or especially Mexico, more so Mexico City, because there's so many fans in Mexico City and a ruckus crowd.
But so what? It's still not a home game because what in essence, what is the advantage of playing at home? It's not.
It's a neutral.
It's not having the crowd. It's not being in a familiar stadium. It's being at home. There's no travel involved. You sleep in your own bed. You're with your family. It's comfortable. You're at home. That's one of the advantages at playing in your home site. You have to travel. This is a road game. I don't care if they're designated home, they're wearing the black jerseys, and there's more Raiders fans there than Seahawks fans. This is not a home game. They had to fly. 13 hours to play a home game? It's ridiculous.
But it's not a body clock game because the game is still a 10 a.m. kick.
I don't care about body clock. It is a travel game. You have to travel.
Look, the NFL is a business. The NFL is a business, and obviously they're doing good business in London.
All right, I'm going to play Judge Wapner here. No, seriously, though, I think you both have good points. And I think, to me, though, they want to develop these international markets. I get it. I think preseason would be enough. Why not, to continue to spread the NFL's brand in other markets in the United States that don't have the teams?
Yeah, I mean, do you guys remember NFL Europe?
Here? No,
NFL Europe didn't work.
Well, it did for a long time.
Well, it did for a long time, but it hasn't been around for like 10 years.
I still like NFL Europe because, as Gruden said in his press conference about developing quarterbacks, including the third quarterback he doesn't have at all, is that you could develop players over there. It becomes like a minor league, which I like.
Or you could just have a AAA-style system in the States.
Yeah.
You could do it here.
Here's the deal, though. I would rather have them play games in Birmingham, Alabama, or San Antonio, Texas, or Fargo, North Dakota.
Where there's a built-in football fan base.
Correct.
Where there's football culture, where football doesn't mean soccer.
Correct.
Yeah, do that.
I agree.
Do that. That makes way more sense.
I agree. And why they didn't have a preseason, and besides our crappy stadium with our crappy UNLV team, why they didn't play a preseason game in Las Vegas before was because of the gambling.
158 degrees too.
Yeah, that is true. Now,
that's like playing at Sun Devil Stadium. I've been there for that. It's terrible.
Worst ever. I love the stadium, but it's the hottest place on earth.
Yep.
All right. Well, we are going to get ready for our last segment here. We'll talk about the game, give you our predictions to see if the Raiders can come back winners. I say if they don't win this game, they might not win another all season. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m. in Las Vegas. We'll be back after this. Don't go anywhere.
Help us talk the Silver and Black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Matt Gutierrez and your host, Scott Gulbranson, on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
All right, welcome to the home stretch. We are on our last segment right before kickoff of the Raiders and Seahawks at Wembley Stadium in London. And we are going to talk about today's game. And it really, I said before the break that I believe that if the Raiders can't win this one, and I know it sounds apocalyptic, they might not win another game all year. Now, how important is this game? We have Derek Carr, who was asked that question at the press conference in London, and here's what Derek had to say.
Yeah, it means a lot, just to have a win, especially when you have a bye week. It's always good to win on the bye week, make the corrections, and then you feel the momentum of, hey, we won the last game, now let's take it over and carry it over to this one, And again, like I said earlier, it's easier to make corrections over wins than losses, right? When you win, a lot of things are overlooked. Sometimes, when you lose, everything is looked at, right? Even if it was good, years prior, right? But that's just this business. And so we know as a team we're in a spot where we need to win. We need to win this game. And our sole focus on the plane ride over, our sole focus all week is whatever it takes, let's just win this game. And just like it is every week, but I think that heightened sense of urgency has been good for our young guys and good for our team.
Heightened sense of urgency.
Yeah. How can you even say that when in last week's game there was zero urgency from that team?
True.
Even late in the game when you got to make things happen. I mean,
walk into the line.
It's like they were trying to run out the play clock as if they had a lead, trying to bleed the clock. I think the only way that the Raiders are even competitive in this game is if Marshawn Lynch runs the ball 30-plus times. They're able to control the clock, keep their offense on the field. Seattle's prone to giving up plays on the ground. I don't think they're going to get much through the air against Seattle's defense. I mean, and again, this isn't the Seattle defenses we've seen. This isn't the Legion of Boom, obviously, but they're still a decent enough defense. They're kind of middle of the road, but you can beat them on the ground.
Yep.
The thing is, though, I don't think that's going to happen.
So, David, here, look at the Seahawks, ranked 13th in total defense. Against the run, 29th, to Matt's point. So Marshawn Lynch should get the ball all friggin' day, as long as it's not too muddy. Pass defense, they're 6th. So, as Matt said, it's a tough road. What do you think?
Well, Marshawn had, 9 carries for 31 yards last week. He's got to get more touches.
Someone said he needed the ball more. It might be the guy calling the plays.
Oh, yeah.
Said it, but geez.
But then you pass it on the 1 yard line, and then you gotta stay away from that type of play calling.
From that type of mentality. That's like a mentality.
Here's the thing that I think, and I know for you guys who read and study football a lot, you know this. But to me, the big issue for the Raiders and what they have to change today, it's not just Derek Carr not throwing interceptions. It's not just playing tougher and better on defense and not giving up big plays to Russell Wilson, which is going to be hard. But also, it's turnover ratio. The Raiders -4, tied for 28th in the league. The Seahawks, on the other hand, create turnovers. They're +6 and tied for 2nd overall in the NFL. I think they're going to have to create turnovers here. And Russell Wilson, sorry, I'm making hand signals at our producer Mark Bonilla, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Great, bro.
I know, thank you, brother.
So great.
There was a clip, and I forgot that one. So,
of course you did.
To hear Whitehead in a clip that I forgot to load. said.
So now you're quoting it.
Yeah, said that, hey, Russell Wilson's going to get his. He's hard to keep in the pocket. You got to try to keep him in the pocket. The Raiders have no pass rush.
None.
So he's going to have time in the pocket. So to me, you're going to give up a lot of points. I expect a high-scoring affair unless it's really, really wet. And you're going to have to create turnovers, guys.
I think the Seahawks coming off of that game against the Rams, I feel like even though you lose to the Rams, but you came this close to winning, that's got to be a little bit of a confidence booster. And Russell Wilson looked pretty good in that game. 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's really been the heart and soul of the Seahawks team, and they've been playing better than I thought they would going into the season. It's by no means going to be an easy win or an easy path to victory for the Seahawks. I don't think they're just going to walk right over the Raiders.
I absolutely do. I don't think the Raiders have an answer in any phase of their defense for what Seattle can throw at them. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They can't contain a quarterback. Russell Wilson is one of the best guys in the NFL at getting outside of the pocket and making plays with his feet and not running for 150 yards, but buying himself time to let guys get open. I don't know where in this defense they have anything that can stop what Seattle has to offer. And that's not because Seattle's great. That's because Oakland's defense is that bad.
And they don't know how to make a good cup of tea. Russell Wilson, but let's talk about this, guys, because I agree with Matt. Russell Wilson, they don't really have an answer. He ranks 17th. The offense ranks 17th in scoring, which is not great, 27th in total offense. But you look at Wilson, 10 touchdowns, 100 passing rating through week 5. He's got Tyler Lockett, right? He's got tight end Nick Vannon, who I think is going to be a problem for the Raiders. He's going to keep them really,
tight ends
really
have been
busy.
a problem for the Raiders for 10 years.
For 10 years.
Literally.
That's right.
They have not been able to cover a tight end since probably the last time Gruden was the coach there.
Right. And I think, the Seahawks running offense is not great, but with the situation you have on that front line for the Raiders and just the inconsistency outside of maybe Mo Hurst and no edge rushers, and Bruce Irvin throwing penalty flags all over the place, I just don't see it either. And I'm gonna call it now. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring, but I think the Seahawks are going to win 38-28.
We didn't talk about one aspect we didn't talk about is the special teams. I mean, oh God. The best start the Raiders had last week against the Chargers was on their own 27-yard line.
Yes. Yep.
And the Chargers started on their own 45-yard line or better 5 times. I mean, you got to get better field position.
That's been their problem all season. The only game that they've had good field position in was the Browns game because they were able to generate turnovers and they scored. The Raiders can't score. I think 28 is that's never going to happen. 31-17 final.
31-17.
The Raiders can't score. They're not going to do it today.
I got 38-28. What do you got, David?
31-28 Seahawks.
Oh, close
28. Where are you guys getting 28 points? The Browns are the only game this season the Raiders were able to score, and it's because Baker Mayfield turned the ball over 5 times. Russell Wilson's not turning the ball over 5 times, guys.
All right.
28 points is lofty.
With that affirmation, that's going to wrap it up, folks. Make sure you stay connected to us. Visit silverandblacktoday.com. Follow us on Twitter, silverblack, the number 2 day. Check out our podcast available on iTunes and Google Play, as well as this show archived there as well. Matt? David?
Scott?
Double zeros.
Thank you, guys. Double zeros. Oh, hey. All right. Well, guys, we'll see how it goes, right? But we'll talk about it next week.
We know that. 3 minutes.
We know that. We'll also be out at the Raiders fan convention here next week as well, so we'll keep you up to date on that. For my co-host, Matt Gutierrez, and correspondent David Stepanian, and our engineer, Trent Ogle, and producer-engineer, Mark Bonilla, I'm Scott Gilbranson. You've been listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Don't forget, catch the PG later today from 4 to 6 p.m. We will talk to you next week, Raider Nation.
Bye week next week.
Yes, bye week, so we have lots to digest.
Oh.